My first time ever doing stand-up comedy was at the Comedy Spot in Sacramento. And for 3 weeks, actually, I used to go to like open mics just as a guest because I didn't have the courage to actually go up. So I just needed to see it. If I could see people doing it, then maybe I can get the balls to go up. And what helped me was like I saw so much bombing.
Yeah.
Right? Not to say like they're all bad or anything. Just there was so much bombing on the regular. And then I came back the next week and those same guys that bombed were there again.
They weren't scared to come back.
They weren't scared to come back. I was like, bro, like if I bombed like you did, I would have packed
You would
up.
never see me again.
You would never see me again. Like that was terrible, bro.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
And so so it gave me the courage, like, yo, if this guy can bomb constantly, who am I to be like, oh, I can't do this without if it's not.
It doesn't have to
not
be
perfect.
perfect.
It doesn't have to be perfect. So I went and the first time I did it, I wrote some jokes. It was a specific joke. Like I used to babysit my neighbors' kids while I was in college, and it was a white family, and the parents traveled somewhere, and I was taking care of the kids, and so I took them to Walmart to go get some food for lunch or dinner or whatever. And we went to Walmart, and so there's a 14-year-old, and I think he's 9 at the time, or might have been younger. It could have been like 6 and 12 or something, right?
Yeah.
And so like the 12-year-old's like running around the store. I'm like, fine, he's responsible. Like he comes,
Just
like
a kid, yeah.
He's a kid, but like he listens. If I tell him come back, he'll come back. So I wasn't really worried about him. I had the younger one sitting in the little the car, right?
The car, yeah. He might be younger than 9.
Could have been 4, man. I don't know exact dates.
Yeah.
It's been a while now, but I was in the cereal aisle, and this kid just starts yelling for his mom. Right? And the optics, dude, he's a white kid, and I'm me.
You're a black man.
Yeah, and I have the car, and he's yelling for his mom. I'm like, no, relax. Look, hey, don't worry about it. Like that looks crazy.
That looks bad, bro.
I just left him. I walked away. I just walked away. The plan that was the joke. That I was like, I just left the kid. I had school to do. Like
He just left.
The real way to like
yeah.
deal with it is to go find the other kid and be like, yo, get your boy. Like tell him to relax. Like and
get your mans.
get your man. Like so that way the older brother calmed down the younger brother.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, look, mom and dad are gonna be back. We're just shopping with Sammy. We're gonna go home, watch a movie, and then he calmed down. And then I came back to the aisle.
Exactly.
To like want everything because I'm not trying to go to jail for that. That was my first set. Like
that was the like first like comedy set.
First joke that I ever thought of. It was on a real story. I tried to tell it in a way. I completely added so much like extra.
You took
extra details. No, like just like unnecessary. I was talking about it was hot that day. I'm like, why does no one needs to know what the weather's like? But I was so nervous that I just kept talking. Like it just kept coming out, right? And then I finished, and I know I did this because I told you that story right now in like 45 seconds.
Yeah.
I did that story for 5 minutes.
So you had to add
So
some
I
stuff
added
too,
so much extra stuff. But I told the audience like, yo, this is my first time doing this. And so automatically they're on my side. Like they were just like, oh, you're so brave. Like
they're not expecting you to be.
They gave me like the
level,
like pity love or pity claps or whatever. So I felt like I did well. Like I was like, oh, this is a 7 out of 10. But really it was like a 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
But for that night, they gave me like enough like validation that I was like, yo, I think I did well. And then I sat in the audience. And this is the reason I bring up the stories because I sat in the audience and I watched all the other comedians and they were telling mad dirty jokes, like sex jokes, like disgusting jokes. But the audience was loving it. They were loving it. And I'm just like, oh, just what I got to do. So I went home and I wrote 20 crazy jokes.
The craziest
jokes that I have no knowledge of this like lifestyle, But I thought that was the way to get the same reaction they got. And I went there and I told it and it's kind of, bro, not a single laugh.
Wow.
It's complete silence.
Was that a sign for you?
Yeah, to quit. I quit that day. That was the lie. I legitimately will lie. I quit that day. I remember this because I know I quit to say because I was rocking an afro at this time. Like I was just growing my hair out. I rocked the afro.
Yeah.
And Sacramento is not the biggest community in terms of like comedy or stuff like that. So if you've seen somebody and then you see them at like a coffee shop, you'll remember, right?
Yeah.
So I'm at a pizza spot with my friends a month later, And some dude walks up and goes, "Hey man, that was a really funny set at the doing stand up." At this time, I didn't tell any of my friends that I was doing comedy.
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel confident enough for them to come watch. I still don't. But at this time, particularly, I never told anyone I even do comedy. Now I don't really invite a whole bunch of people to shows, but like at that point, I didn't even tell anyone I was trying to do comedy. And this guy comes to the table and goes, "Yo, man, I really like your comedy, really funny." He was referring to the first time I did it, like when it was the story about the kids.
Yeah, the kid, yeah.
And he just came out and then he basically outed me to the whole table. Like that's when all my friends found out that I do stand-up.
That you do stand-up. They didn't know before that.
No, because a stranger came and said it.
Dang.
And they're like, "Oh my God, dude, I didn't know you did this."
They're like, "Why didn't you tell us?"
But what that did for me was, it was like, dude, if it's been a month and this guy still remembers my set and he liked it enough to come say hi at a table, because he told the waitress, "I want to go say."
Wow.
Like he went
out of his way to
out of his way to say, "Hey man, I liked your set, whatever." And I was like, dude, if you did it a month ago, your first time, and someone had said that, it's probably worth going back, even if you failed like one time after that.
Yeah.
So I don't think we ever exchanged names or anything, but like that's the guy who just from his comment made me go back and try comedy again. But then this time I was like, dude, I'm gonna do jokes that I think are funny. I'm not gonna.
So you brought it back to a level where you.
Yeah, I went back to like I speak about like a little bit closer to like the world I live in, as opposed to like trying to tell you stuff that is so far fetched from like reality.
From actually, yeah.
So that's kind of what happened. So that's why I kind of brought that up, because when people say, "Oh, I have to do this in order to be successful," I was a victim of that, and I still am sometimes. Like my ideal way of doing comedy is to do it without cussing. That's my ideal. Now I've made progress. I've been worse. I've gotten better. I've done specific jokes where I've rewritten them without having to not have any cuss words. I've noticed that whenever I get nervous, I do cuss. Especially, because I
loosen up the audience.
Yeah, it just comes out. It's just like it's like a reflex almost. But the goal is to get to the point where I can tell all the stories that I want without having to cuss, without feeling like, okay, I'm doing. It just feels cleaner. I feel clean, like you have a cleaner heart if I'm able to do this thing and not
like in a pure form.
Yeah, in a pure form, and still tell the jokes. I just haven't figured it out yet. So,
on that note, I want you to. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for coming onto the show today.
Of course.
I want you to tell the people, who is Sammy? Who is Sammy Edan?
Where am I starting?
Start at the beginning.
I was born in Oakland. We left Oakland. Well, we left America when I turned like 6 months. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
We left Oakland when I was like 6 months. My mom's British, so I was raised in the UK for like 6-7 years. And then after that, my dad got offered a job in Qatar. So we all moved out there. And so those are like my formative years. And I stayed there until I finished high school. So I was like...
So from what age to what age were you in Qatar?
I want to say 6 or 7 until like 18.
So a good portion of your
upbringing. Yeah, like 11, 12 years.
How was that experience in Qatar? For those people who don't actually know anything about it.
So it's a bubble. It's truly one of the man, I loved it. Like I loved everything about it. Like people call it boring, but it was a bubble from reality. Like I didn't see a homeless person until I was like 19.
That's crazy.
I also never met anyone who wasn't straight until I was that age too. Like you're sheltered from a lot of things. Like I didn't see violence unless it was online, and even then, like I wasn't like, prior to high school, I didn't really use phones and stuff like that. So you didn't see violence, didn't see homelessness, didn't see any sort of quote unquote agendas or whatever left and right. Like there was nothing. It was just like everybody's on the same wavelength. And at that point, the only thing that was there that resembled some sort of like thing that you can look at the world and be like, oh, this is the same as everywhere else, is the classism from the wealth disparity. But other than that, it was a safe bubble.
Safe bubble.
So, and you don't know you're living in a bubble until you leave the bubble.
So what was that experience? You left the bubble after high school?
Yeah.
So tell me what that looked like when you left Qatar. Where did you go after that?
First place I landed was San Francisco.
Tell me about that.
Spent like a day in San Francisco and that was crazy because I went from not seeing any homelessness, nothing, to seeing San Francisco level of homelessness. And I was so shocked that there wasn't like a bottom line for people.
What do you mean by a bottom line?
Like for me, if anything messed up, like I would have someone to call to help me. Like I wasn't my own last hope. I had my dad to call.
A fallback.
I had a fallback plan. And I just assumed that everybody had a fallback plan. And when I saw that because I thought like, okay, if that didn't happen, then I'll have uncles that help me. If I didn't have uncles, then I'll have like some relative somewhere that would be able to spot me or help me. And then
there was always another option.
Yeah, and then I felt like, okay, well, the government would probably step into like I'm not saying these things are true. I'm just saying like these are assumptions that I had. I'm like, to me, being homeless was never something I was concerned about ever. Because I was
didn't even cross your mind.
It didn't never cross my mind. I was just like, yo, if you're homeless, I don't even know how you get there.
Yeah.
Because I never seen it.
What does that look like? Yeah.
Yeah. So when I saw people outside, I was like, what is going on? Like,
what did I walk into?
Yeah, I assumed drugs had something to do with it. But then I was like, I know rich people who do drugs too. Like, so how are they, like, how they get here? And that's when like reality like hit in. I'm like, oh, everyone's on their own. Like you might have a rich dad, rich mom, some people, but most of us are just out here and we're out our own last line of hope. And that's when like I took school serious all my life, but that was because my dad sort of pushed that onto me. But when I moved here for college, a lot of my family actually told my parents not to send me to the States because they're sending me to the States by myself.
Oh, so like, you came by yourself. Your family was still out in
Qatar? Yeah. So I'm by myself, 18 years old. Like I just turned 18. They're sending me to a country that does not. It's not a Muslim country like that. There's no bubble. There's no like
completely different from what you experienced.
Like you can literally walk on the street, buy alcohol, do this, do that. You could like that's not easily accessible in the Middle East, right? At least not when I was.
Yeah, it was different. Yeah.
So the fear was like that they're looking at my parents like, why would you send him there? He's never been around that kind of like what's the word?
Would you use temptation?
Those temptations, and now you about to send him there by himself. Like you throwing him in the ocean right now. Like he's not gonna swim. And there was one guy, Allah yarhamah, he passed away. Dude, one of my favorite people alive. He's actually the person that helped my dad buy a home.
Nice.
SubhanAllah. He's the guy who told my dad, he's like, listen, I know your kid. He's fine. Just send him. He'll be fine. And then he came and spoke to me. He goes, listen, your parents are going to send you to the States. And like, I remember he's like tapped me like this. Like, listen, they're sending you to the States. Just be smart. Like, don't mess around. Right. And I never had any intentions to do that anyway, but I just kind of remembered that. And I was like, oh yeah, like that was a good thing. I should have heard it. I wanted to hear that. So when I came here and I saw that there's no last line of hope, right? And that when my dad retires, you're on a work visa in the Middle East. So once you retire out there, you go back to wherever
you came from originally. Yeah.
So he was going to move back to the States and he was like 65 at the time, 63, 64. So I knew that once he retired, he was like hounding me to like finish school. He's like, yo, what's up? Because he knows that once he retires, he's not going to get the same level of income when he comes here, A, and B, like he's older. So even if you try to look for a job, who's trying to hire somebody who's at like 66, 67 years old? It's harder. And my mom, like she's a stay-at-home mom. I went from not knowing that I was the last line of defense to becoming the last line. And I went to school like crazy. I didn't have any friends for the first couple of years.
So did you go to school? You landed in San Francisco. Where did you go to school?
I moved to Sacramento. So I landed in San Francisco. I remember we spent like a day or two out there. Got our stuff situated. I think we had some baggage issues with the stuff, and we were staying out with some family out there. And then my parents came and dropped me off, and then sort of left.
They left, yeah.
We came to Sacramento, bought a car, and all of that kind of stuff. Got situated, and then they dipped. And then I was in Sacramento. I got enrolled into a community college, and I had to figure out everything by myself. I mean, obviously, it was a lot harder for our parents because they had to do that and learn a new language and send money back home. So I'm not trying to equate the two things, but it was still like a big thing for me.
It was a culture shock for you.
Yeah, it was a huge culture shock. I had everything handed to me. Like we had drivers taking us to school. We had we had like maids and stuff. We had gardeners and stuff. And then now I'm thrown into a brand new world. I don't know left from right. I had to Google how to do laundry, how to Google. Like I'm dead ass. Like I didn't know anything, right? And I went from one thing to like the extreme other, which is living by yourself, to having to do everything, right? And it was just, I don't know. It was good, but the school thing, the whole work ethic came from I don't want to be homeless. And I told this joke one time. I was like, the only reason I chose to be an engineer was because I was trying to look for like a hybrid between like, I wanted to be a doctor just because I was trying to chase money. But then I saw how much schooling it took.
You were like, that's not.
I was like, I can't do it. And then I saw engineering, and I was like, okay, this is like less school with a good amount of pay. So I'm like, okay, let me just score for this. And then also the plan was to go back to Qatar and like work there as a civil engineer and be paid a lot more than what you'd be paid here. And so that was a plan. That's why I went. But I went so ham on school, trying to do really, really good. I ended up with like a 3.6. Transferred, and I got a full ride to Davis.
MashaAllah.
And then Davis actually ended up being easier for me, like academically, because like I was struggling with like all the math and
the general ed classes and stuff.
Damn, I'm the general ed. I mean, that's sociology. Yeah, man, I had that.
You had those down.
I'm saying like the prerequisites to all the engineering courses, right? Okay. Like the top physics class. I love them. Like I truly enjoyed chemistry and physics and stuff like that, but they were the tough parts. And then once you get to the engineering part, it's like, oh, this is just application. You just take what you know and you just apply it. And so it was a little bit easier. But that's the reason why the work ethic just went through the roof. It's because I had no choice. If you tell somebody that you are your own last line of hope, you sink or swim at that point. So,
yeah, you don't have a choice.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. I still remember those days. Like, bro, like I remember having talks with people. Like, I didn't say it to their face, but in some sense, I told them, listen, I didn't come here to make friends. I came here for school.
Yeah.
And if you guys take a year off school, you got parents to just go back. Like I'm on a deadline. My dad's gonna retire soon. Like who's next in line to work? You know, like it's me. Like
this is what I have to do.
I'm the next oldest boy. Like it all like falls on my shoulders. Like so when you tell me like I'm gonna blow off class today. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
Like, I'm not.
I can't. Like, even if I don't fully pay attention or I'm half asleep, I'm going to class. I'm gonna get the notes from somebody. I don't have a choice. So I think that's kind of where that came from. But that was a transition. It was like, like the whole like drugs and like falling into all these other traps. Like I couldn't even see those things because I was so focused on not being poor. Like I was so focused on just not like messing it up that everything else kind of just like I never.
Do you think seeing the homeless when you landed in San Francisco added to that, or do you think it was more so the simple fact that you were on your own for the first time, or was it a little bit of both? Both for sure. The first thing is like I have my dad calling me every other week, asking me when I'm transferring, how's school going, so I kind of have like, imagine like you met with a counselor every other week. Like that's somebody tell you, hey, like by the way, your grades are kind of slipping. Hey, so it was kind of like that. It was like the motivation thing. But then you also realize like looking outside that, oh, like there is a chance to be completely like out of luck. I didn't know that was a realm of possibility. It's the same thing with success, though. If you've never, I think we spoke about this one time in San Diego. If you've never seen anyone successful, you can't dream to be it. You can't dream to be successful. Yeah, you can't want something you've never seen.
Yeah, you have to see it. Like I remember one of the questions that I had in my writing class. It was like for English back in college. community college, they asked like, how much money is a lot of money to be paid a year? That's what the question was, and everybody said 100,000 or 200,000.
How long ago was this?
This was 2015.
Okay.
About 2015, something like that. And everyone's like, yeah, like 100,000 or 150,000. And so in their mind, like 150,000 was like, dude, that's like the top of the world.
Yeah, right? We made it.
And then she asked me, and I was like, $1 million. And everyone's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And it's because I grew up with kids who were multimillionaires because they were part of the royal family. And I used to go to school getting dropped off in a Toyota, and they were getting dropped off in Rolls Royces. So I saw money.
You saw it.
I know that their car is worth $500,000. So when you tell me that 150,000 a year is a lot, that's a joke.
You're like, I see people getting dropped off to school in Rolls Royces.
8-year-olds get dropped off in $500,000 cars, and you try and tell me 150,000 is money. But there's nothing wrong with their answer. It's just, if you haven't seen it, you can't. The
perspective is different.
Yeah, you can't you can't see it. You can't even much less put yourself in the shoes where you can go and get that. So when we were speaking about like people who just stay around, this is why it's so important to like have like the friends you surround yourself with, because if everything to your like we can talk about like in an Islamic perspective or otherwise, if everyone around you is quote unquote somebody who's like, they're doing the same thing every day for the next 5-6 years, you don't believe that there's anything out there.
Yeah.
Because you don't see it.
You don't see it.
You're like, I don't do it. None of my boys do it. I've never seen somebody go out and get anything done. So it can't be true. Hopefully that answered your...
No, that's beautiful. Tell me a little bit more about what made you want to transition into comedy, because you told us about your education. You told us about how you wanted to be an engineer because you had a plan. You were like, I'm going to come to school. I'm going to become an engineer because it's easier education-wise. I'm going to go back to the Middle East, get a higher paying salary. Like that was the plan when you started education. Where does comedy play into that?
Okay. Yeah, so I was in Davis. I remember, so my house is like 40 minutes away from UC Davis. At the time, I was living 40 minutes away from UC Davis. And I was a commuter. I didn't spend money on rent just to go to UC Davis. It's actually one of the reasons why I never applied to UCLA, UC Berkeley, is because I was like, I can't afford the tuition and rent, and I'm not going into that much like that.
Yeah.
So UC Davis, and I actually asked teachers, I'm like, dude, I got a full ride. And I wanted to not take it because I thought UCLA, UC Berkeley were more prestigious and that would make more sense. But then he's like, dude, you don't want the debt. Like just
that would come with that.
Just go to Davis. So I went to Davis, and alhamdulillah, it was such a great experience. But the fact that I went there and I commuted meant like if I'm driving 40 minutes in the morning and I have 2 classes and those classes are like 3 hours apart, I'm not going home and then double back to go to school again and then come back. Like that's too much gas money, too much time. I'm gonna just stay on campus.
You're staying on campus.
So I stayed on campus. There's like a common room called the SEC. I forget what it stands for now, but I used to just sit there. I used to wait for my next class. And anyone who walked in, I would just start, like, just naturally, we would just all start talking.
Have a conversation.
It was just like this. We would just start talking. And to the point where and naturally, just when I talk to people, like, I start cracking jokes. Like, sometimes at my own expense, sometimes at theirs, sometimes just laughing at
whoever gets it.
Yeah, just whoever gets it, gets it. Like, we're just, like, joking or roasting on one another, whatever. And it'll just be, like, this thing where, like, everyone, after they're done with class, everyone will just come to SEC to, like, take shots at me, or I'll take shots at them. Like,
so it was a known thing, like
just a known thing. It's like, oh, you wanna laugh, or you just come to
pull up over there.
Pull up over there. And one of my friends actually was getting tired over every time I wasn't there. Like if I was in class or something, they would ask like, "Yo, where's Sammy?" To the point where one of my friends was so upset at the fact that all they ever heard was "Where's Sammy? Where's Sammy?"
Yeah,
they made T-shirts.
Where's Sammy?
There's a T-shirt that says "Where's Sammy?"
So there's shirts out there that says "Where's Sammy?"
Yeah, and I have one, but I walked in one day and 6 of them were wearing a shirt called "Where's Sammy?" And I just didn't know how to talk. But like it's on my Instagram story thing. But so I would just do that, and I just met a bunch of people just like that. I just became like social, like a social person. And this was like different from like the grind set like of community college, because the whole grind just to get to Davis was like,
it was a process.
It was a process. But once I got to the engineering part, school was easier for me. Like I was passing without trying.
So you weren't, it wasn't as much pressure on you at that point. Yeah.
Because it was easier. The classes were easier. Like it was just application at that point. I didn't find it difficult. So I had more time to just like joke around or whatever. So I remember this one dude, he was like kind of known as like the OG of the school. Like everyone knew him. Like he was like super popular. He came to me and said, dude, how did you get this popular in like 2 quarters? Like at school.
Like everyone knows you already.
No, everyone knows you already. I'm like, oh, I just don't go home between classes. So like everyone sees me.
I'm
like,
always outside.
I'm always here.
Yeah.
Because I have nowhere else to go. I have to drive like an hour there or whatever just to get back to class. So that's how I met Hiko. So then he was the head of one of the organizations that needed like an MC. So they came up to me and they're like, hey, do you wanna MC this thing? And I'm like, I have stage fright. I don't want to do it. He goes, please come on, look, we're all looking for someone. We can't agree on anyone. And everyone like gets along with you. Just do it.
Yeah.
I said, fine. I chose a co-host because it just takes a little bit of pressure off me because I didn't want to be the only one that everyone's like staring at. So I got a co-host. And then like, we were just like sort of like filling in on the night, right? Like besides just like saying dinner's at 8 and like, hey, so next coming up is this person from this city, whatever. But like in the middle, we just had to be like, hey, how's everyone doing? Like, y'all good? Hey, I like
crowd work.
Yeah, crowd work. And I was just like, I was roasting people like to like keeping in mind the audience, right? But like I was like roasting people, and I didn't realize I was doing stand up. Wow. I didn't. This wasn't stand up to me. This
you
was
went
just,
there to MC, but you were naturally just
it just came out, and I was mad nervous, but it still like worked. And so I did that, and then I did another organization came to me, asked me to do the same thing. I think I did like 3 events before I graduated. Wow. And then once I graduated, like 4 months later, I was already interning at the place that I was trying to get a full-time job at. And I could see my future in sense of this company, right? And the guy who's my supervisor was retiring within 3 weeks of me taking a position. And so he was like, listen, I'm retiring in 3 weeks. They haven't given me any work because they don't want me to leave while there's stuff on my table. So I don't have any work. So that means I can't give you any work. So if you want to walk around, just walk around with some papers in your hand.
Look like you're doing
Make it
something.
look like you're doing something, right? And I was like, oh, this is all fake.
Yeah.
None of this is real.
Yeah.
Right? And even to the point where like after that, like they'll give you work, but it's not like, it's too much politics, less work. And I'm not saying this for every company. I'm saying some.
It gave you an understanding of how the systems in the...
Yeah, at this time. Yeah. At that specific place of work. So I wasn't really happy. And then I remember getting another position somewhere else. And there was a guy retiring. And I think they gave this guy like a watch or like a just a simple Casio watch. So it was a nice watch, but that was what he got. And he worked for like 52 years or something.
Damn.
And they gave him a watch, and it was like, they looked at me and they were just like, hey man, if you're lucky, you'll have a career like him. I was like, I don't want to be lucky then.
Yeah,
I don't want to do that.
That doesn't sound lucky to me.
Dude, 52 years and I moved 3 desks over to the right. That's it. Like,
I walk away with a watch.
I don't want to do what he does.
Yeah.
Like they asked him, what are you gonna do with your retirement? He's like, oh, I'm gonna go to like Tahoe. Nigga, like that's an hour from here. You could have.
You don't gotta wait 40 years to do that.
Been doing that. Like
yeah.
You didn't gotta like. It was just so like, oh my god, this is the rest of my life.
Was it a wake up moment?
It was scary, bro. Because I was like, I want this. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to do anything else. I wish I was satisfied doing what it is I'm doing. But I have more in me. Like,
there's something else.
Yeah, I remember finishing work and going home like, okay, now what? Like there's something else to do. Like I have more energy to do. I don't want to like call at night yet. I want to write. I want to. So on Tuesdays or Wednesdays or whatever I do, I'll do that. I'll write some jokes and then I'll go to an open mic and I'll do. So I knew there was more. But the point is like, while I was at work and I was having all these feelings, I remembered, remember that thing I did in college? I was like hosting. Like I want to do that. So I Googled. I remember I was on Phil's on R Street coffee shop, and I Googled how to be a comedian. Open mics came up, all this kind of stuff. I kind of like learned a little bit of like, okay, what the science is. I was like, this is what I got to do. And so I paid $7. I went to like an open mic and I watched it, and I watched a couple for a few weeks. And then, you know, back to where we were talking, I had the balls to go up and tell that first joke. And then it just kind of, and then I quit, and then I came back, and I was like, okay, look, I think I'm really good. Dude, by my 5th time doing stand-up, I got a standing ovation.
By the 5th time?
Yeah. It was
That's
only
pretty
like,
quick.
It was only like 30% of the crowd, but it was, niggas stood up.
That's still a standing ovation. Yeah.
I got claps, and I was like, this is my 5th time ever doing this.
What did that make you feel like the future of comedy looked like for you?
I wasn't thinking about like being some like this impact of like being like the future. You mean the future of comedy?
Yeah,
or
like
my future in comedy.
Your future in comedy.
I just wanted to do something that didn't make me like lose my mind, and then also I wanted to be able to provide better, right? Like I can't do what it is I need to do with where I'm at right now. And so I need to put in more hours of work and sacrifice, you know, just chilling and doing nothing, and sacrifice just like, you know, hanging out and watching TV or whatever to do this, and like, and to sit and write, you know, and alhamdulillah, like my job doesn't tax me too much in terms of my mental stuff. I think if I had like a more ambitious situation, but like even then, it's like it's give or take. Sometimes it's like a grind time. Sometimes it's a little bit less. So I'm able to like have some room at the end of the day to still ride and do it. But it just looked to me, I have something to do that wasn't pushing papers into politics in the office. But B, I had a better way to provide for my family, hopefully. Now it's funny because when you look at like the best way to provide for a family, you never think comedy, right? You think like, what's the safest bet?
Yeah, that's not the door.
It's not the door to take. But subhanAllah, like I know what I'm good at, and I know I'm not good at some things. And I have, like, I was always raised with this, like, I don't believe there's nothing I can't do. Like, I know, like, I mean.
Which is exactly how
like,
you should think.
Like, yeah, like, I think if I wanted to do this thing badly enough, I will do it. I'll figure out a way. I might take 10 years longer than you. I might take 5 years longer than whatever, but I'm going to get there. But for me, the thing that came the easiest was comedy. I know how to make people laugh. So, I mean, why look for another route? Because if you're trying to make money, you do not look at comedy. Like, but for me, I just had this like thing inside. I'm like, dude, 5th time doing it. People stood up and clapped. You have all these. I used to keep a journal. I used to take 2 journals with me every night when I went to perform. And one of those was the jokes I wrote. And I would like rehearse them, like remember them in the car or whatever. And then I'll go do the set. And then the other journal is when I come back to the car, all the compliments I got. I would write them down for the days that I feel as though I should quit. I go back and read those.
You go back and remember those.
Go back and read those. And I still have the book, but I stopped needing it. So now I don't write down the thing that nice people say, oh, dude, you're hilarious, or such and such, because I don't need it. I feel as though I've done this long enough that the validation is in the experience, is in the. I feel like I've already been valid. Like at least I feel that way. So I don't need to keep that journal around. But yeah, I just feel like if in a year this turns into something else, Allah alam, that's fine too. If I see you next year and you're like, yo, what happened? I thought you were trying to do this comedy thing, and I tell you, look, man, I found out this. Then khair. But right now,
this is where
this is where it's at. And I'll tell my wife, I mean, even if it ends up being in the realm of comedy, but doesn't have to be stand-up per se, because my strongest suit is penmanship. Like I can write. So I've written shows. I've written I've written commercials for people. I've ghostwritten people's skits. I've ghostwritten commercials. And then I write my own stuff, and then I write stand up too. But I've written episodes of TV. So that's where it is. So, but if it's any realm of comedy, meaning like if it's like TV, or if it's like a YouTube short series, if it's like a talk show, if it's like a whatever, it doesn't have to be stand up. And again, I'm just saying, like, I want it to be in the realm of that, but stand up is like, I think, the purest form, right? Because I noticed this last night. I had a show here in LA. There are performances when people, like, their whole body is part of the joke, right? Yeah. Where they can command the stage in a way. For me, I kind of I would say like 20% performative, in the sense of like using my hands and using the stage, walking around, like 20%, 25% at most. But I'm like, the rest of it is just clever, like a callback or a joke that
it's the penmanship.
It's the penmanship, right? Yeah. It's like it's telling you the story, callbacks, relatability. I try to shave as much fat off the joke as much, like, right? I don't need to, like I told you in the beginning, I was telling you all the details. Yeah. Like, instead of like, I was having coffee with some guy this morning. I told him an example of a joke. If I want to tell a joke about me walking across the street and like busting my ass, like I would say, "Oh, I walk across the street and I bust my ass," but like that's like when all the fluff has been taken out. But but in the beginning, it's like, "Oh, I was, on Sunday I was in LA and I was trying to walk across the street and my pants."
It was 83 degrees.
It was 30. Yeah, it was 83 degrees. The sun was out. It was kind of cloudy. Like you don't need all these extra details, but like you learn that the story you want to tell it doesn't translate too well. You need to like shave off.
That comes with experience. Yeah, that comes with practice.
That just comes with time. So that's how I like to deliver the stand up. And then the 25%, like I only use performance where I need to. I don't. But there was a guy yesterday who killed it, who was like fully like, every part of his body was like part of the joke. Yeah. And it was hilarious. Everyone loved it. So it's just a different way to do it.
Different art styles to approaching it. You said you want to, as long as you end up in the realm of comedy, you'd be content with that. I want to talk a little bit more about your presence online. You have close to 1 million followers on TikTok. You have well over 100 million impressions across different social media platforms. How did you transition from that stand-up, testing yourself in front of a stage, to having a following and a presence like that online?
The hardest part about social media was starting it. So I started open mics back in 2018, like after work. So my schedule was, this is pre-COVID, so I would wake up at 5 a.m., go to work. During my lunch break, I would write jokes. And then I would leave work, go home, pray asr, have lunch, get changed, have a Red Bull or whatever, and then run to the open mic and then tell those jokes I just wrote at lunch.
So literally same day?
Same day. I would do that for like 4 or 5 times a day. And by the time I finished the stand-up, but by the time I finished, it was like 10, 11. By the time I'm back home, 12, sleep. I got 5 hours before I got to go to work the next day. So that was like an ongoing situation. And then when COVID happened, but by the way, in this case, I still kept stand-up a secret, meaning...
How often were you doing stand-up at that point?
4 or 5 times a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or, I mean, minimum probably 3.
3 times a week though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just trying to get up. And like, it wouldn't be a new joke. Like, let's say I started a 5-minute set that I penned on Monday. Tuesday, it would be the same 5 minutes, but it would be like a sharper. Maybe I found out that on Monday night, this joke didn't work. So I'll discard this one, put this one in here. Oh, this part was funny, but like this dragged on too long. Okay. Then Wednesday comes up, I got to do the same thing, like just clarify. So it's almost like grabbing a bunch of like whatever dirt and trying to polish it off, trying to see if there's any like diamond in there, like you can get something.
You can make it any better.
Exactly. So that was kind of the process. And so the good thing about stand-up at that time was like no one knew I was doing it. Like no one even knew I was in the realm of trying it. Like it was all a secret. No one's going to these comedy places to listen to open mics. It wasn't like my friend group. No one cared for stand up. Like it wasn't like a thing anyone like cared about. So in 2020, I remember like, dude, I did an open mic, and 2 promoters came to me, and it was I still counted it. It was like my. No, I can't remember what the number of, but at some point I still remember the number of mics I went to. Like I was like, oh, this.
You were counting. You were like, oh, I'm on this one. Yeah.
This is the 27th one. I kept count. I don't know why. I was just doing it, and then I lost track. I just whatever. But I remember 2 promoters came up to me. This is in March of 2020. No, February 2020. They're like, hey man, look, that was a good set. We want you to be on a show. And I was like, me? Like, oh man, yes, I can't wait. Or whatever. And I left thinking like, I'm about to blow up. Like,
yeah, I got this.
You know, I got this, right?
Yeah.
Funny, I've done like 100 and something shows since.
Wow.
It's just shows. It's not really, you know. But at the time, I was like, a show? Like where people buy a ticket to come see whatever the hell.
No longer just stand-up.
It wasn't like open mics and stuff. I don't even think they were paying me for the show, but it was just like, just being selected to be on a show was crazy. So 2 weeks after they said that, COVID hit. I never had those shows.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, stand up or being a comedian stands on 2 things. Actually being really good on stage, but then people knowing who you are. Because it don't matter how funny you are if no one knows who you are.
No one knows it, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. So I was like, okay, since I'm home and I can't do anything, let me work on the second part, which is to be like a known person. So my first what's the word?
Skip?
Not skip. My first thought was to go straight to Instagram. Okay. Because that's I had like 500 followers on Instagram, all friends and family or people I went to school with.
So it was a natural place for you to just start.
Like, why don't I do this? But I was so scared of what people thought of me. And this is something that like, you know, like me and my friends sometimes, and me and my wife, we go back and forth about this idea of like, and it might be a little odd, but for me, if I perform in front of strangers and I bomb, I can sleep better at night. Because I don't know. None of them.
I don't know you.
I don't know you. They're going home. I'm going to go to sleep. And then tomorrow is like, it's a brand new day. I could care less. They're probably shopping at Whole Foods.
It's like nothing happened.
Nothing happened. But if I bomb in front of people, like my friends who I have to see the next day, I feel like I'm reliving that bomb.
They're gonna be like, Sammy, what was that?
Yeah, they can hold that against me. Not that they will, right? Especially like someone like a family member or something like. They're not gonna hold that against you. But I just feel like I don't ever want to have any chinks in my armor that anyone can like. I just don't like.
I feel uncomfortable.
I like the idea of feeling like I failed in front of somebody. I would rather never fail in front of anybody. But if I had to, it would be a stranger because they will never see me. I'll never see them. I can walk.
You can live with that.
Yeah. But the other side of it, and it makes sense too, is that people are like, look, if I'm gonna fail or have a bad night, I'd rather do it having people that I love around me to support and comfort me. Right.
So looking at the other perspective of it.
There's another way that it just depends on how you're raised. Like maybe I have like different like
your approach to the situation might have been
my approach is the least vulnerable, the better. The less chinks in your armor, the better. I don't ever want to like I don't know why, but like I grew up thinking maybe it was the friends I had in high school, to be honest with you, but like I felt like everybody was out to get me. So give them the least amount of
give them nothing to work with.
Give them nothing to work with. Right? If I give them anything to work with, they're like,
going to use it. Yeah.
Yeah. Remember that terrible show that you had, you know, or whatever. But, so the reason why I brought that up is because Instagram was where it naturally made sense to start doing skits. But I was like, I can't. Everyone I know is on there and they're not going to support me. And even if 1 or 2 did, too many people will see the first trash skit. So what I did is I downloaded this app that none of my friends were using at the time. It was called Tik Tok. We've kind of heard about it. It wasn't as big as, nowhere near as big as it is now, but it was still around. It just it wasn't big.
But all the people you knew weren't on that platform.
No, not at all. And I didn't know how to use it. I had to download it and figure it out. I had to do all these. I didn't know how the view stuff worked. I didn't know how anything worked. Like the creator fund wasn't there. Nothing was. It was such a.
So you went to TikTok to go away from people.
Yeah, I went to TikTok to hide.
Wow.
I didn't go there thinking like the algorithm's better. I didn't know nothing. I just went there to hide because I didn't want no one I knew to see what I was doing.
To see what you were up to.
Yeah, because I wanted to get, and this is like it's a funny way. Like when you start working, it's like when you start doing art in any form, it's almost like starting a tap that hasn't been turned on for a while, and like all the like nasty water comes out first. Right, it starts going out, but you have to just let it keep running until the clean water follows, right? And every once in a while there'll be some like trash in the pipeline, but you got to keep it going to get to the pure water, to the good stuff, right? So it's the same with art. Like you put out trash stuff constantly,
flush out the dirt.
You flush out the dirt. You're gonna get better. Yeah, you can't get worse. I remember my first video was so dumb. It was about like white ladies arguing over LaCroix. That was, it had no real skit. It wasn't thought out. It wasn't 9 views. Yeah. 9 views. I was like, damn. 9 views.
You're like, damn.
I was like, that's the most I ever got.
Yeah.
And then I remember doing some more skits. I remember the first time I hit like I hit 100 views, and I was like, yo, I'm getting kind of better at this.
I'm doing something.
If someone does 100 views now on TikTok, it's like either you just started your account, you were clearly shadow banned, or like,
you gotta do everything wrong to get 100 views.
Everything wrong to get 100 views. Like that's terrible. But at the time, I was like, I've never done videos, so 100 views to me, I'll take that. The first video was something so dumb. Like I remember like playing 2 characters. I was like changing shirts and stuff. It hit 2100. Oh no, it hit 1200.
1200. All right.
And I made it. In my mind, I made it. But I just kept going. And like the first time I hit 10,000, that's when I felt comfortable enough to say, hey, look, I might want to put this one on Instagram, or at least try it. So it did like 10,000.
So you hit 10,000 on TikTok before you even considered
views, not followers.
Yeah.
So then I thought it was a good video. Okay. Right, 10,000 now. I'll be like, yo, who hacked me? Like, what happened? Like there's
why
trash.
Is it only at 10?
What happened? Yeah, like 10,000 to me was like, yo, this is something worth reposting, showing to friends. So I would send some videos over to like four or five friends of mine to see what they thought. Like the ones who I knew didn't have any like malice that I could trust. Just showing them the video, like, hey, what do you think? Is this cringe? Is this whatever? And almost all the time they'll be like, no, it's good. So I'll post that. And I needed the validation before I could post. I would send them videos. I keep sending them videos. And then as I kept going on TikTok, the threshold to be able to put it on Instagram came higher. So now I'm not reposting a video on Instagram unless it does 100,000 on TikTok. Because to me, the burden of my family and friends seeing the video is too high for me to put a video that has less than 100,000.
It got to be worth it.
It got to be worth it because I feel that judgment hurt too much. It bothered me too much. If anybody thought I was cringe, even if there was like 10,000 like nice things, if it was one person I knew who said something negative, it would
throw you off.
It would throw me off completely. So then the threshold went from 10K to 100K. Like if it's not 100K, I can't repost that because I don't think it's good enough. Whatever. And I'm probably forgetting some milestones in here, but I remember when I hit the first video hit 1 million views. I was so like, no, before the 1 million views came, I remember there was like, I call it the 51-49 rule.
Okay.
I hit a point on my Instagram followers where I had 1% more fans than I had family and friends. So now the page went from like my page to my comedy page. Yeah. So now I felt like the audience I'm posting to It's not the same 500 people that were like my friends, family, people I went to school
I just doubled
with.
up on that.
It's like I still remember where I was, exactly where I was when I hit 1,000 followers. I was like, oh, this is half my friends, half that. And I remember just going over that. I'm like, oh, now when I post, I don't need to hold the, oh my God, what are my friends and family going to think? I should say, what are my supporters going to think? Because this is mostly them now.
It's now for them.
Yeah. So anytime I post, I felt like this sense of validation that when anybody had anything to say to me or didn't like my video or would comment something like weak or no one ever did that that I know. But like in general, if they were to, I felt like I could say, look, it's not for you.
Yeah.
Like, look at the numbers. Like this is not, you're not, if you don't like it, that's fine.
That's your opinion.
To the point where I remember this one guy told me, it's like, bro, I'm going to unfollow you. Like, I'm like, I won't notice. I literally won't see it. The number won't change.
Like, okay.
I don't care. Kill yourself. Like I could, like, and he was like malicious, trying to be malicious.
Yeah.
Like
he was trying to get a reaction.
Yeah. Trying to get a reaction. But if he did this a year earlier, that might have actually impacted. That might have. First of all, I would have noticed the number, right? I would have definitely noticed.
Like, oh wait.
But also, it would have been like, oh, like, and a couple of people I went to school with unfollowed, and I don't like hold that against them. I'm like, okay, you just didn't want to see that.
Yeah.
But it's funny. It's like, why did you want to see me graduate?
Because that's really all I was putting up there.
That's all I was putting up there.
Yeah. So you're okay with seeing me graduate? Yeah, you're not okay with seeing me do this.
But if I went if I went hiking on Sunday and I posted a picture of some mountains, you would have liked it. Why?
But I'm doing what I'm passionate about.
Yeah, but like just in general, like why were you following me to see mountains, or to see a hike, or to see a graduation, or to see, why were you following me? Like I followed this person because I went to school with them, I know them, I did whatever. So if they suddenly became, unless they start posting some random like inappropriate stuff, which I know people who do. So what I do is I just mute their stuff, so I don't actually see them on my feed. Yeah. But like, if I was following you, it's because I know you from somewhere.
Exactly.
And I just, either you followed back and whatever, and like we just kept in touch, whatever. But otherwise, it's like, dude, I'm posting something that I'm actually trying to chase, and it's irritating you.
Why is that?
It's weird. Like, it's not like I'm flooding the timeline. I barely post. In fact, I haven't posted for like 3-4 weeks. Videos at least. But I digress. What was I saying? I went to TikTok to hide from them.
To hide from it, yeah.
And then I remember that's the 51-49 rule from me. It's
when
like
you hit 1,000 on Instagram.
Kind of changed a little bit. And then when I hit the first million viewed, like a first video that was viewed 1 million times, I put it up there, and I held that like a badge of honor. It was like, it wasn't because it was 1 million views. I wasn't getting paid for anything like that. I wasn't.
But it was an accomplishment.
The point was like to show myself, hey, look how many people watched this and liked it. And I still think I was in like a proving, in a mindset where I was still trying to prove. Even when I had like 10,000 followers on Instagram, I was still trying to prove to the first 500 followers that I went to school with and stuff.
I really do this.
That I really do this. Yeah. I'm like, look at this million. Look at this. Look at this. It's for you. I'm posting.
I know you see that.
Right? Because I saw it on TikTok. I'm showing you so that if you feel like I'm cringe, just look at the number.
Yeah, exactly.
I was so
numbers don't lie.
I was so like worried about what they thought about it that I was like trying to show, like validate. Like I was trying to almost indirectly ask them to give me validation. You know what I mean? But I think the biggest thing came when something I just forgot now.
Have you?
I forgot.
Have you reached a point yet where you feel like you no longer need that validation?
Yeah, I still don't. I still try to minimize vulnerable moments, meaning I don't really advertise shows to people unless for like this case, like the one in LA, I kind of, I'll say it's the reason why I kind of put it up there, but I don't really advertise shows because I still feel like I'm a work in progress, and I don't want people to come to practice. I want them to come to the game, like when I'm ready. Like, because if you come right now and you say something small like, yeah, it was okay, and I'm like, that's it. It was just okay. Because I have bad nights.
Of course,
right?
Yeah.
I have great nights,
human
really bad nights, right? And I just don't want you to catch a bad night because I don't think I I mean, my skin has gotten thicker over the course of doing this, but some people just know how to like cut deep.
Yeah.
Right.
And they do it intentionally.
Yeah. Strangers can't do it to me, but like someone someone like you, because especially if you're invested in like you want good for them.
Yeah.
And then you hear them just completely disregard what you're trying to do.
It can throw you off.
It throws you off. Like, bro, like you think I'm like, you think this is just a game? You think I like spend half my time writing and driving and performing for a joke, for it to just be okay or just a hobby or whatever. So I still don't try to like, I don't really put it out there for people to come and watch me do it. But I think for strangers, like if I have a bad night, that's not enough to throw me off. I gotta have 2-3 bad nights in a row and I'll still do it. But I remember the first time I bombed in front of people I knew, and that was in Oakland of last year. And that shit took me like 4 or 5 days to get over. To get over it. Yeah. Like I legitimately.
What was different?
People I knew were there. And the reason I had to do that was because my manager asked me, he was like, listen, we're gonna do this event and there's gonna be people there looking for you. Meaning like people who I'm trying to like scout, whatever. So it would serve you best to bring people.
So you wanted to fill out the room.
Yeah, because if the scouts notice empty seats, they're gonna say it doesn't matter what he does. He can't even fill this room, right? So then I was forced to like invite people, and I did, and they came, and everything that could have went wrong in that show went wrong. Like legitimately, mic went like, I kept going off. Yeah. I forgot jokes once in a while. I was so nervous. There were people that came in that were like a lot older that were trying to leave because it got late into the night. I was a headliner, so like they were tired, so they were walking out. But as they're walking out, they're talking to each other.
So it's distracting the audience, throwing off the energy in the room.
Throwing everything off. People trying to. I could hear from the stage as I'm talking. I could hear. So which way's the bathroom?
Yeah, that'll throw you off.
I was like,
you trying to get through a joke,
So I can't remember. There was like 4 times where I had to ask the audience member, yo, what was I talking about? Wow. 4 times I had to, and so he's like, I went to the back room when I was done, and I just sat with my face in my hands, and I was just like this would have been easier to digest if there was no one I knew, because then I can go home and be like, pretend nothing happened. Because how would you know?
Yeah, you wouldn't.
But now if I go to like, it's still till this day, because a few of those people saw me perform another time where I did well, and they just so happened to be there, and I felt like I redeemed their impression of me. Yeah. Or I redeemed myself, and I sort of changed their impression of me. But for the few that never came back,
that was their impression.
That was their impression, and they'll forever walk around like, yo, that guy's ass. Like, and I don't know why that kind of, it feels like something's being held over me. So I'm not completely done with the I'm not seeking validations from anybody. I'm limiting the amount of vulnerability that I'm limiting the times I'm vulnerable and who I'm vulnerable with, if that makes sense.
That definitely makes sense. Yeah. So you talked about you felt very vulnerable putting yourself online and doing the whole TikTok, Instagram thing at the beginning. Do you still feel there's any vulnerability or anything that you hold back when it comes to the online presence of yourself right now versus the stand-up or in person?
Online, I feel like I just feel like it has to be funnier and funnier and funnier. And I always feel like, no, this isn't funny enough, because I compare it to the best videos. And it's kind of hard to like live up to that. Like my best video is like 15 million or something. And like, I mean, some people can redo that. I can't keep redoing that. But there's different reasons why that one went viral. But even like my next one was like 9.5 million, 9.6 million. I can't control it. Once I just put it out, I put it out. Yeah. But there's a comedian that I spoke to. His name's Kev on Stage. And he wrote something on Twitter one time. He's like, look, if you're a content creator, your job is to post. You are not responsible for the views that come back. You're not responsible for how funny people found it, or how relatable it was, or which meme page picks it up. Your only job is to put the best thing that you can out. That's it.
Yeah, that's all you
And
gotta
so
do.
for me, it's like, okay, my job feels complete when I've posted. Now, sometimes I'll do a video, I'm like, yo, this is the one. This is gonna hit it.
This is
and
gonna
then
go.
It doesn't. But I try to, and I fall victim to this, I tried to tell myself, no, you did your job. It doesn't matter now. And then if it hits, oh, cool, you did your job. And you also get to reap the benefits of like 2 million people having seen it.
Yeah.
That's cool. But so I feel less, what's the word?
What was because you talked about the consistency or the importance of just posting, just putting it out there. What did that look like at the beginning? Because you talked about you were doing it on TikTok first, you started to get to like 10K views before you put it on Instagram. How many videos were you making? How often were you creating videos? How often were you posting them before you started to see your page and your actual online presence increasing?
So I was trash and at first. So I was trying to look for other people's advice of like how many times should I post? And this one dude told me like, yeah, you got to post 3 times a day. I was like, oh, you niggas don't have jobs. Like, there is no way.
How are you doing that?
How are you doing 3 a day?
Yeah.
Like, are you crazy? I have a full-time job. Like, even if I didn't work, and I get like, I only have so many outfits. Like, like how many niggas am I playing here?
Yeah.
Like, it's too much work. I'm like, I'm not doing 3. So for me, it was 3 a week.
3 a week. Okay.
But I was like, so long as it's in my mind, I told myself, look, they're doing 3 a day. It must be. But if I could do 3 a week and it's like properly scripted, whatever, it might not be the best. At least I put this much effort into it. I should be fine. So 3 a week is what I was doing.
Okay.
I got to a point, I remember doing like 1 a day. Like, so I was doing like 7 a week. But now it kind of got to like maybe 2 a week, but I'll just do it on Sundays. So I'll just do like one day a week. And what I'll do is to like optimize the time. It would be, I'll come up with the idea during the week and I'll just put it in the notes, in my notes draft, like in my phone, in the notes app. And I'll put like 2 or 3 ideas or whatever. And then like Sunday will come around and I'll go back to oh, this is dope. And then I'll like write it and then I'll perform it, I'll stitch it, edit it, whatever. And then I'll drop it that night. Yeah. So that's kind of where I was at. Yeah.
So you got, well over, I think like close to 100 million views right now. How has that impacted your experience in people recognizing you when you're outside? And how has that experience been?
I was talking to someone earlier. 2021 was a bigger deal for this. I still get it now once in a while. It'll be like a boba spot or like Costco or some shit, like something small, like, hey man, you that whatever. But in 2021, it was crazy. Like I was in San Diego with you actually, you and Abdi Salam.
Yep.
And it was like very early stages of COVID where masks was like everywhere. We were wearing masks. Went to what's it called?
Taco stand. Yeah, Taco stand, North Park. Yeah.
And that lady was like, we were masked up. Only my eyes were showing.
Yeah. And she recognized you.
She's like, hey, that guy from TikTok. And you guys are like, what the hell? Like, he's got a mask on. And I'm like, oh, this is a time where every time I posted, I was doing like 2-3 million. Every time. Like I couldn't miss.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say I developed an ego, but I definitely felt like I was the one. Like I was chosen,
Yeah.
I used to walk
chosen
around.
few.
I was like walking around like people were I'm like, I remember tweeting this and then putting in my draft because I was like, bro, I have such a kibber. Like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
I remember tweeting, I was like, yo, it's great to go viral. It's even better to go viral every time. And I was like, yo, this is going to kill it.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me put this in a draft, bro. This is such a kibit. Like, this is, and it's kind of like for 13, 14 weeks, Allah just like dried up all ideas from me. Couldn't come up with a single idea. I was done. Like, I couldn't even think, just to show me.
To go from that high point.
Just to show me like, hey, even your ideas aren't yours.
It was a humbling experience.
Yeah, it was such a humbling experience. I was like, somehow, like, because it's not like I'm not being tested with like my editing or something. Like, even the very seed of the joke is not yours.
You can't come to it. Yeah.
Like, you were given this, and it was from Allah, and you start walking around acting like it was you. So I took it back.
Yeah.
So I was like, for 13, 14 weeks, everyone's just like, yo, when's the next video? I was like, don't talk to me right now.
Yo, I got nothing
like, I'm still asking Allah for forgiveness, like, for this ego that I was walking around with and stuff. But what was the question you asked? My bad.
I said,
being recognized.
how did it feel like just going to like Costco and other places like that and starting to get recognized? Because you started this journey like doing stand-up and then going online, but that must have been an interesting experience for you to just all of a sudden people start recognizing you. Yeah.
So the recognized thing, surprisingly, was not something that tested my ego. It was the numbers that tested it, because I was like, I started to feel like I couldn't miss, right?
You're doing 1 million every time.
I was doing 1 million, 2 million every single time I posted. Like, even a video I didn't think was that funny, I was like, I can't miss. Like, everything I touch turns to gold. That part gave me an ego, and then alhamdulillah, I was humbled. But the other side, just people meeting me or saying like, oh, I know you from such and such. That was, I never felt like an ego. I always felt pressure. I felt pressure to not let my bad day ruin my encounter with this person.
You wanted to give them.
I wanted to give them everything that they wanted. Like, hey man, I love your videos. Oh, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. You know, what's your name, man? I always ask them what's their name. It doesn't matter who. Like, I always ask them what's their name, because I want them to know that I care about them as well as an individual, and it's not just about me. Like, yo, I'm a big fan. Thanks, bro. And just walk away. That's so rude to me. Yeah. Like, yo, what's your name? Such and such. Sit with them. Yo, so are you from around? Like, if I have more time, I'll spend a little bit more time to say, hey, how are you? This just so I've given them I felt like their due. Yeah. So every time someone asks me for like to talk or like a photo or something, it's just this, it's about to, I need to perform. It's almost like not perform, but like I need to make sure have you ever had you've had guests come to your house and you have to play host? Yeah. So it's not fake. You just want to give them, but you're doing your best. You're doing your best to make them feel welcome. Yeah. So I feel like every time someone recognizes me, I'm playing host. Does that make sense? I'm playing host. You got to put that best version of yourself. I got to put the best version. I don't want them to feel like, oh, he's having a bad day, or because if I'm having a bad day, they don't see that. They see, oh, he's an asshole. Yeah, that's going to be their opinion. That's their opinion, and I'm not doing it because I'm like, oh, they could. This is a person who would potentially buy a ticket to a show. Whether you ever come to a show or not, it doesn't matter. Yeah. The fact that you enjoyed it and you watched it and you probably shared it, whatever. I just want to say thank you. Yeah. I appreciate you. You want to approach them with that genuine. Yeah. So it's pressure more than it is anything else. But alhamdulillah, I remember I went to this a conference / a exhibition. And I hate going to these things. I only went one time because I was helping out with the same charity, Al Misbah. And it was just like wave after wave after wave after wave of people. And I know people who are like famous content creators who actually go out of their way to go to these exhibitions because they need, I don't know if need, or maybe they want. They enjoy that. They enjoy the people coming up and asking them for photos and stuff. But I'm the complete opposite. Yeah. And we try to twist it. They wanted to use me to bring people to the booth to donate. So what I would do is we would actually put up like a thing, and we would do like a mock interview. Yeah. Not a mock interview, actual interview. So we would sit people down and we would go back and forth and actually talk. And I would ask them questions. And now instead of them feeling like they are talking to me and they want to know more about me, I'm actually getting to know. You have the opportunity to flip it on them. To flip it on them. I want to know how you were raised, what's going on with you. And they'll tell, and it's so interesting. They'll tell you about some of the, it's crazy how much people will tell you if you just ask, because they want to
share.
They want to share.
Yep.
And we gave them the opportunity. And then we phrased it like there was a question behind me that said, how has Allah saved you? That was the question. So everybody would sit down and answer that same question. And it was crazy because, like, you know how sometimes you go through something in life and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala like tests you and then like that saves your iman, like a spike in the iman or something. And then like a year or two removed from that event, it could be a car accident, whatever, you kind of go back into your sinful ways a little bit.
Yeah.
At least a little bit maybe. So it helps you and serves you best to remember it. Like to go back and remember the event that Allah saved me from such and such.
Set that off.
Why am I back in these bad things, right? So that was the same thing I would do with them, and it would like spark the iman in them again. You could see that they were like sort of like recharged from it.
Yeah.
But it also gave me an opportunity to use any clout I had for them to come to the charity and then potentially donate.
So it was like a win-win kind of situation.
It was a win-win situation, yeah.
Man, that's amazing. What's it called? What is next for Sammy?
So yesterday was a diverse representation showcase where a bunch of people came out to some scouts and we did like 6-7 minutes worth of material. And I think I did well. And I gave out my card to a few people. So the hope is that I'll be booked and busy for more things, inshallah. So that's the goal in terms of stand-up. I think I got like 9 shows on the books right now. And then in terms of content, just go back to content as soon as I can. I think after this month, after the shows are all done, I'll get back to like, regularly scheduled program. I am going to Ghana in September. I'm going to go for another charity. And I don't know if I can tell you here, like you know how they take influencers out there?
Yeah.
And they want you to tell, I guess, sort of like shed light on the charity and be like, hey, like this is what we're doing. We're feeding such and such. I used to feel as though it was kind of like, oh, you're just showing these people in their worst state to tell people to donate, right? Like if I'm struggling, don't put me in your video asking niggas to donate. Just go get the money and bring it to me privately, So I thought of a great way to like do it. And like, I'm a comedian too, so I want comedy to still be part of it. So I came up with a plan to like ask every person I encounter what their favorite joke is. So an elder in the community or a younger person in the community, I'll ask them what's their favorite joke. It's the same thing I did with the other charity where I sat and I asked them how Allah
talk to them about their
I just wanted to know what their favorite joke is, because A, they get to relive the joke and laugh again. B, they make the rest of us laugh once it's translated.